Alright, let's dive into a story that's equal parts fascinating and facepalm-worthy, the tale of Bob Seger, and the song he called The Dumbest Thing I Ever Did. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me just say this. If you've ever heard old-time rock and roll, you know it's one of those songs that's practically woven into the fabric of American culture. It's in every sports montage, every dive bar playlist, and honestly, it's probably stuck in your head right now just thinking about it. But here's the kicker, Bob Seger, the guy who made it iconic, barely sees a dime from it. And that, my friends, is where the story gets interesting. So, let's rewind to 1978. Bob Seger is already a big deal in the music world. He's got hits, he's got credibility, and he's working on what would become one of his most defining tracks. But here's where things take a turn. The song was originally written by George Jackson and Thomas E. Jones III, but Seger claims he completely overhauled it, rewriting almost all the lyrics, except for the chorus. Personally, I think this is where the story gets messy. You've got a seasoned artist, someone who's been in the game for years, and yet he doesn't fight for songwriting credits. Why? Because, in his own words, he just wanted to finish the record. Now, let me pause here for a second. From my perspective, this is a classic case of an artist prioritizing the art over the business. And while I get it, music is about passion, not paperwork, it's also a stark reminder of how the industry works. The music business doesn't care about your good intentions, it cares about contracts and credits. What's even more baffling is that Seger's manager did suggest he push for credits, and he brushed it off with a nah, nobody's gonna like it. If you take a step back and think about it, that's a pretty wild decision. This isn't some obscure B-side we are talking about, this is a song that's become a cultural touchstone. What makes this really interesting is the contrast between the song's impact and Seger's lack of control over it. Old-time rock and roll has been in everything, movies, TV shows, commercials, and yet, Seger's not the one cashing in. It's like he handed over the keys to his own house, and then watched as everyone else threw parties in it. In my opinion, this raises a deeper question. How many artists have made similar mistakes, prioritizing the moment over the long game? One thing that immediately stands out is how this story highlights the fine line between creativity and commerce. Seger's mistake wasn't just about missing out on royalties, it was about losing a piece of his legacy. What many people don't realize is that songwriting credits aren't just about money, they are about ownership, about being able to say, yeah, I made that. And when you give that up, you're giving up a part of yourself. If you ask me, the real tragedy here isn't the lost royalties, it's the lesson that went unlearned for so long. Seger's career is full of triumphs, but this one misstep is a reminder that even the most successful artists can stumble when it comes to the business side of things. What this really suggests is that no matter how talented you are, you've got to be just as savvy about contracts as you are about chords. So, here's my takeaway: if you're an artist, or even just someone who appreciates the hustle behind the hits, remember this story. Always ask for what you deserve, because the music industry doesn't hand out second chances. And if you're a fan of old-time rock and roll, well, now you know there's a whole lot more to that song than just a killer riff. What do you think? Is Seger's mistake something you can relate to, or do you think he got what he deserved? Let me know in the comments, I'm curious to hear your take. And hey, if nothing else, at least we've got a killer soundtrack to this whole drama. Cheers!